People, Deluded, I'm back again. Hope you're all doing well and safe and all these sort of things on this Monday morning. Hope you're ready to attack the week, have a positive week. Hope Arsenal are ready to win tomorrow against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. Yeah, man, the Premier League fixtures are coming thick and fast, but I'm here to speak about Mesut Ozil. Now, that name divides opinion. I've already made you extremely happy. I've already made you extremely sad. I think Mesut, at times he's been scapegoated. At times he's not pulled it out. I wouldn't say he hasn't. He to a degree he has failed to live up to expectations that we projected at Arsenal. But I do think Arsenal also failed him, and I also feel he failed to adapt. And like I said, I do think he's scapegoated. But what is his legacy, people? Because let's be honest. I'm sure he's polarised opinion and he can do everything right or no wrong depending on some people. But if we just cut the crap, and there has been some good moments for Ozil at Arsenal and things like that. He's touching 248, 249 appearances for the club in all competitions in total. So what, this season there's a good chance he'll make 250. And for me, it doesn't matter on the player. When you look at someone like Callum Chambers, 100 appearances for the club. Ozil, regardless as well, 250 almost appearances for the club. As an Arsenal fan, you haven't got there by mistake. I know he's polarised opinion at times, potentially. Emre, at first it looked like he could provide that spark. Then there was friction, and sometimes Ozil was wrongly left out and not involved. He has stagnated and failed to adapt to the Premier League in all, to the level of David Silva specifically for me, because Silva, I remember him playing on the flanks at Valencia and whatnot, and he married the poetry and motion with the tenacity of the Prem. I don't feel Ozil really bought into that consistently over 38 game period. And David Silva can play deep lying, he can still play on the wings, he can still play further forward. Ozil is still 31, and we still have to say, as much as I think he gets a harsh rap, and he hasn't, and a lot of it's not understood the player he is. He's 31 and we can't be talking about if he doesn't have this, he can't perform. If he doesn't have that, he can't perform, because he's 31. He's not going to be here long term. Listen, when we first got Ozil, I do think we failed to build the team around him and whatnot. But it's time to stop that. I would say through no fault of Ozil's form as well. While some of his time at Arsenal, he has to own it. Ozil's never been that player that gets us out of trouble, in the sense of he's got a lovely pass and things, but he's not the one that's going to roll the sleeves up and whatnot. Ozil is a luxury player, and he is a luxury, and Arsenal haven't been in a position to have that. You also can't forget the season he had 18, 19 assists, but he's never been that player that's going to roll our socks up, make a tackle, score from 30 yards and just galvanise the fans. He's someone, body position, passes. When you've got the whole team, when you've got the whole meal and whatnot, Ozil's the dessert. You have the meal which, allows you to stay alive, and then Ozil's the dessert, the icing on top of the cake, the things you don't necessarily need. And we failed to really build a team, not just around him, but I feel Santi's not a big sign into the level of Alexis and Ozil, but for me, they all came in a year apart of each other, like it was a revolving door. Like Santi was 1 year, then it was Ozil, then it was Alexis. I felt we failed to build that around that, because there was times with Ozil, for all his criticisms, we were screaming, if we get these midfielders, he can do this, centre backs this. Times where we're saying Giroud's not good enough, go up front, and a lot of that's been true. But I do think to a degree, it does feel like Ozil, a lot of players, even completely different, but Pogba, I feel Pogba gets a harsh rap at times. But I do think when people always say they need this or they need midfielders to allow them to do this, I fully understand it, allow them to do their thing. But at the same time, a player can't always have to require, he needs this, he needs that, he needs this to also have the best facilities to play and whatnot. Sometimes you've just got to pull it out, and Ozil hasn't been that. 9 times out of 10, I don't think he's been a poor sign. I think he's actually been a success. It's just not been because of Arsenal collectively off the field bringing in players to bring us to that level. It hasn't been there. People have been looking at Ozil, just mistaking his ability with the fact that he'd be able to do what Perez and Henry and all these people who dug us out of holes. There has been times Ozil's made the difference, but it just hasn't been to that level. He's not that. Like I said, he's very much been a luxury player. Poetry, emotion, he's an enigma. I feel towards the end of his Arsenal time here, potentially the last 3 years or so, when poetry, emotion's really been killed off, I feel he's failed to adapt. He does run about and that. I'm not saying it's not there, but consistently there's running about, which is cool, and he does his thing and he completes his job. But when I look at David Silva, how galvanised they are, flying in fairly, and not like, you know, the English thing that we gas up, not flying into tackles, but it seems like he got it, like he adapted the technical play he's got with what the Prem's about, and it feels like Ozil's taken a while to do that. There has been some good moments under Mesut Ozil, to be fair. I look at the Liverpool game at home, Chelsea in the FA Cup, Chelsea at home, Man United a few times. In fact, he's actually done all right typically against United. He's played all right against City, Bayern Munich, Napoli, the Deluded. Obviously, we didn't pay 40 million for a man for Deluded, but there's been some good moments from Mesut Ozil, to be fair. Napoli, if I haven't said that, he has been a decent player, and to be fair, I think, obviously we didn't sign Ozil to win the FA Cup, but I think if people look back in the FA Cup run, for the first one, the second one as well, but the first one, he was spot on, to be fair with you. So I think he's been a good signing. I feel Ozil's been a good signing for us. I feel one thing that's gone against him is the club haven't, you know, we spoke about going Bayern Munich level. We saw Alexis Santi and pardon me, Ozil come in. We failed to build around that. We failed to behave like winners and build the team. And I do feel at times people, because of the price tag, because of the money, because of Mesut Ozil, he was a scapegoat at times, and we failed to build. I do feel he failed to adapt really and truly. So I feel we failed to build really around him in his peak. I felt he's failed to adapt and really change his game. Really, I feel they're the main reasons as to why this hasn't banged for him. I do think, like I said, he's been unfairly scapegoated from time to time as well, people. I do think people fail to kind of understand what Mesut Ozil is, because we was thinking he's going to be this driving person who's going to dribble and score for 50 yards. He's not been about that. And I will say as well, it's more an English culture thing. With Mesut Ozil and a lot of players, it's very much an English culture thing to run about for the sake of running about. But in other countries, there's running about for specific reasons. It's very much a cultural thing. I do think people haven't understood who Ozil's been, but I also think he's failed to adapt with the times. Like, what Ozil is about, poetry and motion, is dead now. It's all about tenacity and whatnot. And you look at him, would you say Isco's potentially poetry and motion as well? I'd say the same. These sort of creative midfielders or creative players, they're not necessarily having the best of times right now. But this is only the last 3 years or so. I feel Ozil's done all right. I mean, 248 appearances specifically, 43 goals, 76 assists. I don't think he's been a flop by any stretch of the imagination, personally. And if I just go on Twitter and look at I asked you a lot of questions for some of his goals and whatnot, people. I'm sure yesterday. Sorry, people, screenshotting some praise that I was getting. So if we look, 16 comments, people, and I just asked for decent games really from Ozil, and there's not many, but there is many, but you get the point. Some of you, let's just to honour Mesut Ozil's legacy here, let's just throw them around. I'm getting Leicester at home. I'm getting Chelsea 3-0. I'm getting Manchester United when we won 3-0 and he sliced us apart. What was that? Apologies, people. I need to really keep the charger in. I don't know what I'm doing. Somebody's already said that. Someone said the majority of the time he played with Santi and Ozil, Santi and Ramsey. And I mean, he has had some great assists. Let's be serious. He's had some great assists. He scored some great goals as well, like the Leicester one last year. Ozil's not been a bad player. I just think he hasn't evolved, and people have judged him on principles to a degree he's not, and failed to understand what he's about. And I do think because he's not been everybody's cup of tea necessarily, myself included, there's been a bit of agendas and whatnot. But largely, I think if I had to describe him out of 10, I'd say it's been a 5 here. But it's just, yeah, but I mean, we signed Ozil to be bigger than that. But I'd say the collective intent from the club wasn't always there. So yeah, we've got Ludogorets. We've got Chelsea at home, we've got Bayern Munich 2015, we've got City at home in 15-16, we've got the following of the 15-16 seasons: Leicester away, United away, City at home, 18-19, Leicester at home, Atletico at home, CSK Moscow at home in 17-18 also, AC Milan in both legs across that, which is true, Sunderland 15-16, Everton 17-18, Everton FA Cup semi-final. So yeah, and also somebody, if I haven't said it already said Napoli at home. So there's been some decent games from Mesut, man. So Yeah, man, I feel he can look back with fondness at his time at Arsenal. Has it been Ozil's going to come here and change the footprint of this club and take us to the new level? Through him just not being that player, not adapting to be that player, and the club not addressing the areas. Because as much as we get onto Ozil, through many times in his career here, how many times have we, not just him but collectively, we need a striker, no, we need a centre back, okay, no, we've got the depth, we just need a midfielder. Arsenal have been in love with projects, and Ozil and the rest of his players, whether I've believed in them or not, have also felt victim to that. So it is what it is. But on that note, I'm going to get out of here. People, as usual, your support means the world. DG, I'm out.